Ace Kingston, my sworn enemy, my eternal rival, the man I'd been battling for years in the corporate jungle, a war where neither of us ever gave an inch. He looked at me, his eyes full of that familiar, infuriating arrogance, and said, "Kiss me, Stella. Just one kiss, and I'll give you 100,000. 100,000? Not enough." In the blink of an eye, I grabbed his collar and pulled him closer, planting a flurry of kisses all over his face and lips. I kissed him until my lips were numb, until his face was a fiery crimson, until his eyes were glazed over and he looked completely disoriented. "A million, Mr. Kingston," I said, pulling away, a triumphant smile on my face. "Bank transfer, Venmo, or Apple Pay." You know, sometimes life hits you so hard you don't even see it coming. I'd always considered myself resilient, a shark among sharks in the concrete jungle of New York City's business world. My company, Hayes Innovations, was my lifeblood, built from the ground up by my fiercely independent mother. We were a force, carving out our niche with grit and relentless innovation. One minute, I was strategizing multi-million-dollar deals in sleek boardrooms, my name whispered with a mixture of respect and fear. The next, I was in a stiff, uncomfortable server uniform, my feet aching, my dignity shredded, watching the very people who once sought my approval now revel in my spectacular fall. It felt like a cruel, unending cosmic joke. The whispers of Stella Hayes, how the mighty have fallen, followed me like a phantom limb. The architect of my ruin wasn't some faceless competitor. It was my own father, Arthur Sullivan. He wasn't just a bad businessman. He was a master manipulator, a man driven by greed and a chilling lack of conscience. He'd systematically dismantled my mother's legacy, the very foundation of my world, even before she passed away. He used underhanded tactics, leveraged old connections, and pulled strings I didn't even know existed. He didn't just bankrupt Hayes Innovations, he scorched the earth, leaving me with nothing but a mountain of debt that threatened to crush me. Every penny I'd ever earned, every asset I'd painstakingly acquired, was gone. My grand, ambitious life reduced to a few $100 and the claustrophobic confines of a dingy basement apartment. Instant noodles and stale crackers became my gourmet dining experience. It was a stark, brutal education in true vulnerability. I landed a job at The Grandeur, a 5-star hotel known for its opulence and exclusivity. The irony wasn't lost on me. I, Stella Hayes, the woman who once hosted lavish corporate galas in ballrooms not unlike the Grandeurs, was now clearing dirty plates and pouring sparkling water for the city's elite. And of course, word travels faster than a Wall Street rumor on a Monday morning. My former colleagues, the very sharks I'd once swum with, flocked to the Grandeur. They booked the most expensive VIP suites and, just to twist the knife a little deeper, made specific requests for my service. Each summons felt like a public execution, a carefully orchestrated spectacle of my downfall. I remember walking into that private dining room, the hushed clinking of silverware replaced by a palpable silence as every head turned towards me. Over a dozen pairs of eyes, both men and women, impeccably dressed and radiating a smug superiority, fixed on me. Some smirked openly, their lips curled in undisguised schadenfreude. Others offered thinly veiled pity, which somehow felt even worse. Well, if it isn't Stella Hayes, look how far the mighty have fallen. One particularly nasty former rival, Brenda Sterling, drawled, her voice dripping with fake concern. "Reduced to serving us? Huh, guess bankruptcy suits you." Her words bounced off the ornate walls, each syllable a venomous jab designed to pierce my already fragile pride. My jaw ached from clenching it so tight, my fingernails digging into my palms. I wouldn't give them the satisfaction, not now, not ever. I would endure. I would survive. And one day, I would rise again. Then, Amidst the sneers and the whispers, my gaze landed on his table. Ace Kingston, my sworn enemy, my eternal rival. The sight of him leaning back in his plush chair, a picture of arrogant ease, sent a familiar jolt of adrenaline through me. Our rivalry was the stuff of legends in New York's business circles. We were fire and ice, two relentless forces constantly battling for market share, for industry dominance. I'd thwarted his biggest mergers, he'd poached my top engineers. I'd bribed his IT staff to crash his servers, he'd somehow bribed the city to cut my power supply on critical deadlines. Our battles were epic, consuming. And now he had me, right where he wanted me. He knew I was broken, vulnerable. This was his moment. "Mr. Kingston," I managed to force out, my voice barely above a whisper, the forced politeness a bitter taste on my tongue. "May I get you some water?" He chuckled, a low, condescending sound. Stella Hayes, begging me. Now that's a sight for sore eyes. He looked at me, his long, captivating eyes full of that familiar, infuriating arrogance. My blood boiled. To think I, Stella Hayes, would ever have to humble myself before him. I gripped the water pitcher so hard, my knuckles turned white. This was it, the moment he'd been waiting for, to finally see me grovel. The years of sparring, the strategic chess matches, all culminating in this pathetic scene. But I wasn't about to give him that satisfaction. Not today, not ever. My mind, sharp despite the exhaustion, began to spin, looking for an angle, a weakness. I performed a flawless, calculated move. "Oh, Mr. Kingston, I am so sorry. My hand must have slipped," I exclaimed, my voice dripping with what sounded like genuine contrition as I accidentally drenched his perfectly tailored suit with hot tea. The expensive fabric immediately darkened, the liquid dripping onto the pristine floor. Mentally, I was high-fiving myself even as I muttered apologies. His companions erupted in outrage. "What kind of service is this? Do you know how much that suit costs? Can you even afford to replace it?" they shrieked, their faces contorted in self-righteous fury. I kept my head bowed, playing the part of the meek, disgraced former CEO. "I'll replace it when I have the money," I mumbled, my internal monologue a string of colorful curses. "You miserable jerks. You think I'm easy pickings now that I'm down? Just you wait. Once I take down my father, none of you will escape my retribution." Ace, however, simply ignored their bluster, his eyes fixed on me, a curious glint in them. He pointed a long, elegant finger at the table, then leaned his head, a devilish grin spreading across his face. "Kiss me, Stella. Just one kiss, and I'll give you 100,000. 100,000? My mind, always quick with numbers, immediately calculated the potential. That's quite generous for a simple kiss, I thought, a mischievous spark igniting within me. The others, assuming I was too humiliated to respond, piled on, eager to see me debase myself further. "Did you hear that? 100,000 for a kiss? What a steal! You'll be set for a year, Stella. Don't waste this opportunity," they chanted, their voices a chorus of cruel encouragement. My gaze lingered on Ace's lips. Full, sensual, a dangerous temptation. And for a moment, I forgot the humiliation, the anger, the years of rivalry. All I saw was a juicy opportunity, a pathway out of this financial abyss. And what a delicious opportunity it was, wrapped in the package of my most infuriating adversary. Before anyone, even Ace himself could fully react, I leaned in, quick as lightning, and pressed a swift, soft kiss against the corner of his mouth. It was a fleeting contact, but his lips, unexpectedly soft, sent a very surprising jolt through me, an electric current I hadn't anticipated. Ace froze, his ears turning a bright, fiery red, a clear sign of his embarrassment. Then he pushed me away, his voice a mixture of indignation and surprise. "Stella, how can you do this for money?" I smirked, pushing back, my eyes daring him to challenge me. Why not? 100,000 for a kiss? That's a bargain I'd be crazy to pass up. Besides, I drew my eyes back to his lips, now slightly swollen from my quick assault. You're not bad to look at. Definitely supermodel tier. What do I have to lose? His lips were full, like ripe cherries, inviting. And for a moment, I forgot the humiliation, the anger, the years of rivalry. All I saw was a juicy opportunity, a pathway out of this financial abyss. And what a delicious opportunity it was, wrapped in the package of my most infuriating adversary. Before anyone, even Ace himself, could fully react, I grabbed his collar and pulled him closer again, planting a relentless flurry of kisses all over his face and lips. I wasn't gentle. I was a force, reclaiming my power, turning his humiliation tactic into my victory. I kissed him until my lips were numb, until his face was a fiery crimson, until his eyes were glazed over, and he looked completely disoriented, completely lost. The room fell silent, the taunts gone, replaced by stunned gasps and the sound of everyone's rapid, ragged breathing. I finally pulled away, satisfied, my heart thrumming with a strange mix of triumph and exhilaration. I then pulled my phone out of my back pocket, the screen gleaming. $1 million, Mr. Kingston. Bank transfer, Venmo, or Apple Pay? Ace was beet red, his eyes still dazed and unfocused, clearly not processing a single word I was saying. He looked like a deer caught in headlights, utterly bewildered. He wasn't going to recover anytime soon. I pouted playfully, then held my phone out to his best friend Liam. Liam, get him to pay up. Liam, who'd been on the opposite side of our corporate battles for years, stuttered, fumbling for his phone, his face a mask of disbelief. He clearly couldn't believe what he was witnessing. It was a moment of pure, unadulterated chaos. After the money landed in my account, a glorious, triumphant $1 million, I patted Ace on the shoulder, a wide, dazzling smile on my face. Thanks, Good Samaritan. You really brought some warmth into my life today. I'm out. I skipped out of that room, humming a little tune of victory. I'd been racking my brain trying to figure out how to get startup capital, despairing over my empty pockets. And then boom, Ace Kingston, my eternal rival, my sworn enemy, had practically handed me $1 million on a silver platter. Who was I to be ungracious? Fate, it seemed, had a twisted sense of humor. As I walked away, I heard Liam's frustrated cry echoing through the opulent halls. What the hell was that, Ace? You were supposed to humiliate her, and you ended up getting completely played. I smirked. Whether they saw it as a failure or not, I certainly didn't. This was pure strategic genius. After paying a hefty contract termination fee to my former landlord, a small price for freedom considering the millions I'd just acquired, I strolled home, already mentally sketching out my new business plan, a phoenix rising from the ashes. My good mood, however, took a sharp nosedive when a sleek, black Rolls-Royce suddenly pulled up beside me, its engine purring like a predatory beast. The door opened, and 2 stone-faced bodyguards in black suits and dark sunglasses stepped out, their imposing figures casting long shadows. Miss Hayes, Mr. Sullivan requests your presence at home. My face darkened, a familiar coldness spreading through me. The Sullivan house is not my home. I'm not going back. That house, filled with bitter memories of betrayal and my mother's slow decline, was a prison, not a home. The bodyguard, a hulking man with cold eyes, cracked his knuckles, his expression as unyielding as stone. Miss Hayes, you will come with us today. It was clear. If I didn't cooperate, they'd drag me there by force, a public spectacle of my father's continued control. I slowly backed away, my mind racing, calculating escape routes, weighing my chances against these 2 formidable figures. But before I could even turn, my back hit a solid, familiar chest. Ace. His presence was unmistakable, a magnetic force that both repelled and drew me in. Trying to abduct someone in broad daylight, gentlemen? Planning on committing a crime? His voice was laced with a dangerous amusement, a predatory purr that instantly disarmed the bodyguards. A beat of stunned silence hung in the air. Then the bodyguards, clearly recognizing Ace, quickly stammered explanations. "Mr. Kingston, you misunderstand. This is just a misunderstanding. We're not abducting her. We've simply been instructed to invite Miss Hayes home for dinner." They looked uncomfortable, clearly caught between their orders and Ace's formidable presence. Ace raised an eyebrow, a mocking glint in his eyes. "Oh, not an abduction. Well, that's good." He looked down at me, his eyes sparkling with mirth, a mischievous smile playing on his lips. "Come with me then, Miss Hayes. I'm the real abductor here. I'm abducting your heart." The words were absurd, yet they sent an unexpected tremor through me. "Abducting my heart? Seriously, Ace. A few days without seeing you and you've clearly lost your mind," I chuckled, playing along, surprised by the lightness of my own voice. "Hear that, fellas? Tell my dad I've been kidnapped, can't make it home for dinner." The two bodyguards just stood there, dumbfounded, their expressions slowly crumbling. Weren't they sworn enemies? Their faces seemed to scream. Why are they so cozy all of a sudden? Is this just part of their elaborate game? I subtly squeezed Ace's waist, a warning signal, and he let out a surprised grunt, instinctively tightening his hold on me, preventing any escape. His arm was a steel band, a silent declaration of possession. Seeing the bodyguards still frozen, he suddenly glared at them, his voice cold and commanding. "What are you waiting for? Get out of here, now." The two men scrambled into their car and sped off like a bat out of hell, clearly unnerved by Ace's intensity. The moment they were out of sight, I pushed Ace away, the lingering warmth of his touch, a surprising sensation. "Can't believe Mr. CEO is such a pervert," I said, a playful jab in my tone. He clutched his chest dramatically, feigning a wounded expression. "How can you say that? Wasn't I being a knight in shining armor for you? Is this how you treat your savior?" He looked genuinely put out, and for a fleeting moment, I saw vulnerability beneath his usual arrogance. He had saved me after all. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to be serious, swallowing my pride. I said, "Thank you, Ace." My voice barely above a whisper, but words feeling incredibly foreign and awkward after years of constant verbal sparring. He didn't acknowledge the thank you, simply looked at me with that knowing smirk, and honestly, I was too tired to press the issue. "Well, I'm off," I said, turning to leave, but his large hand grasped my wrist, preventing my departure. I turned back to see him smirking, a challenging glint in his eyes. "At least buy me dinner to show your gratitude, don't you think? Besides, you just swindled me $1 million from me. Dinner isn't too much to ask, is it?" He had a point. A very valid, very Ace-like point. "Fine, I'll treat you." I followed Ace into his car, settling into the passenger seat. As he settled into the driver's seat, Liam, who was already inside, stared at me, his eyes wide as if he'd seen a ghost. "Stella, what are you doing here? Wasn't that kiss enough for you? You practically chewed Mr. Kingston's face off." Liam's incredulity was almost comical. My eyes darted to Ace's lips. They were a little scraped, a faint abrasion from my earlier desperate onslaught. I must have been a bit too enthusiastic in my $1 million pursuit. His full, red lips, now a little swollen, made them even more tempting, a forbidden fruit. I swallowed hard, quickly looking away, only to meet his gaze. His eyes were full of playful amusement, a challenge lurking within their depths. "Want another kiss?" he murmured, leaning closer, his voice a low, husky whisper that sent shivers through my spine. My heart hammered in my chest. I almost said yes. My brain, thankfully, sent an emergency warning signal. "Damn it, Ace. That's a trick. Don't fall for it. He's playing you." But seriously, Ace Kingston's face, sculpted and dangerous, was tailor-made for my type. He knew exactly how to tempt me, how to push my buttons. It was almost impossible to resist his charm when he wielded it like a weapon. I quickly turned my face away, chanting silently, "A million, a million, a million," a mantra to remind myself of the money, the objective, not the man. The suggestive tension hung heavy in the air until Liam, bless his oblivious heart, broke the spell with a loud, almost triumphant laugh. Ace, snap out of it. Did Stella's kisses turn your brain to mush? You were dazed for ages back in that room, and now you're actively asking for more? Stella, did you bewitch him? Is this your secret weapon because you can't beat him in business? The awkward tension evaporated, replaced by a wave of mutual embarrassment. We ended up at our favorite old barbecue spot in the heart of the city, a place of shared memories, hidden from the prying eyes of our corporate world. The owner, a gruff but kind old man who knew us from our wilder days, brought out 2 huge plates of grilled meat and a pitcher of cold beer. "My treat," I tell them, waving my hand, a gesture of newfound prosperity. "Eat as much as you want." Liam, no longer stiff or suspicious, devoured his food with gusto. "Man, this place hasn't changed a bit. How did you even know about this place?" He stopped mid-sentence, a sudden realization dawning on him, his eyes widening. "Oh, right, college. We knew each other back then." More than just knowing each other, Ace, Liam, and I were inseparable back in our college days. We were a notorious trio, known for our mischief and our fierce loyalty to each other, despite the constant competitive fire between Ace and me. Ace and I had even been classmates in high school. We were rivals, yes, constantly pushing each other, vying for the top spot in every class, but also partners in crime. We'd cover for each other when we skipped class, conjuring elaborate alibis for truancy, and we were notoriously good at sabotaging each other's budding romantic prospects, a bizarre, unspoken agreement to keep each other free from romantic entanglements. I remembered a particularly persistent and popular girl in junior year, Ashley Thompson, who kept confessing her feelings to Ace. She pursues him relentlessly, with a sweet, innocent charm that made it hard to truly dislike her. But Ace, being Ace, was completely indifferent, almost oblivious to her affections. She was persistent, though. One day, she cornered him during recess, a grand gesture with a homemade cake and a public declaration of love. Love affairs were always hot topics in high school, and a massive crowd quickly gathered chanting, say yes," egging them on, eager for a public romance. Ace's face was thunderous, a rare sight of genuine discomfort. He spotted me in the cheering crowd, a mischievous glint in his eye, and walked over, grabbed my wrist, and pulled me in front of Ashley. "I'm sorry, I can't say yes," he announced, his voice surprisingly gentle but firm. "I have a girlfriend. Her." He turned to me, a half smile playing on his lips, a silent question in his eyes. "Right? Girlfriend?" Ashley was stunned, her face paling. "You're really his girlfriend," she stammered, disbelief warring with heartbreak. I was still reeling from the suddenness of his declaration, my mind scrambling for a response, when Ace subtly elbowed me in the ribs, a sharp, silent warning, as if to say, "If you dare say no, I'll kill you." Yeah, I'm his girlfriend," I managed, forcing a smile. "How could you try to confess to my boyfriend?" She still didn't believe me. "You're lying. I just saw you cheering for him," she accused, tears welling in her eyes. I was sweating bullets, unsure how to respond, when Ace, with a flourish, coldly snorted. He then took off the jade pendant from around his neck, a piece he always wore, and pressed it into my hand. "This is a good luck charm my grandma got from a temple thousands of miles away," he explained, his voice even and deliberate, aimed at convincing Ashley. "She told me to wear it always and give it to the girl I like someday. Stella and I just started dating, so I haven't had a chance to give it to her yet. Today's a good day to do it." I knew that pendant. Ace had worn it since I'd known him, a constant presence around his neck. It was a beautiful, high-quality jade, strung on a simple red cord resting against his collarbone, mesmerizing in its simplicity and deep green hue. I'd always wondered who would be lucky enough to receive such a meaningful gift, never imagining it would be me in such a bizarre circumstance. Turns out, it was a special charm his grandma had personally prayed for his safety and well-being. For Ace, that pendant held immense personal and sentimental value, far beyond its material worth. I was a little overwhelmed and instinctively didn't want to take it, but Ace firmly pressed it into my hand, and then, with a confident gesture, lifted our clasped hands as if to say, "Believe it now?" Ashley finally burst into tears and ran off, her dream of high school romance shattered. To keep up the charade, I wore that pendant for 2 months straight, its cool weight a constant reminder of our strange alliance, before finally returning it to Ace. After that bizarre incident, we became even more adept at sabotaging each other's romantic lives, a silent pact to remain a chaotic, unattached duo. Thinking about the past always softened me, bringing a nostalgic warmth to my chest. "Of course I remember," I said, my gaze falling inadvertently on his bare neck. It was odd. He wasn't wearing the pendant anymore. "Where's that pendant? Why don't you wear it anymore?" I asked, the question slipping out before I could stop myself, driven by a strange, sudden curiosity. Ace paused, then a cryptic smile touched his lips, a hint of something unreadable in his eyes. "Why do you ask? Do you want it?" Who would want that? I quickly feigned indifference, changing the subject, my cheeks feeling a little warm. "Let's not talk about that anymore. Didn't you say you wanted to invest in my company? How much?" I immediately pivoted to business, my usual comfort zone. My mind, always sharp when it came to strategy, immediately calculated the figures. Ace leaned back lazily, his eyes narrowed playfully. "How much do you want?" 300 million. My business brain immediately kicked into high gear, the sense of opportunity overriding all else. "As long as you invest, I guarantee you'll see massive returns. I have a new vision, a disruptive approach that will revolutionize the market." I launched into a concise, passionate pitch, outlining my innovative strategies, the untapped potential, the projected growth. My voice gained its usual CEO confidence, commanding and persuasive. Ace scoffed, but there was a flicker of admiration in his eyes. "You're that confident?" I leaned forward, resting my hands on the table, my gaze unwavering as I looked him straight in the eye, into those deep, dark pools. "We've been rivals for years, Ace. Don't you know my capabilities by now? Don't you know I always deliver?" I paused, then a playful, almost mischievous smile touched my face, and I lightly touched his red lips, tracing their outline with my fingertip. "Or we could continue our little transaction from the other day, 100,000 a kiss. Let's see, 300 million would be about 3,000 kisses. If you don't mind, Mr. Kingston, I can pay in installments. It's a win-win." Ace's eyes deepened, darkening to an almost black hue. His Adam's apple bobbed as he swallowed, a slow, deliberate movement that was breathtakingly sensual. The air between us crackled with a new kind of tension, electric and undeniable. "Are you serious?" he whispered, his voice a low rumble. "Then this kiss can be the interest." He leaned in, his warm hand cupping my neck, pulling me closer, and kissed me. A long, deep kiss, slow and possessive, completely different from the frantic, strategic kisses before. It was a kiss that spoke of desire, of unspoken feelings. We only broke apart when our breaths grew ragged, our lips tingling. He pulled back, a smirk playing on his lips, his eyes gleaming with triumph. Interest paid. Now for the principal. He stood up, still smiling, and tossed over his shoulder as he walked away, leaving me slightly dazed. "General Manager Hayes, try your best to build your company. I expect big things." I watched him go, a mix of annoyance and a strange, thrilling amusement washing over me. Why didn't I realize Ace Kingston was such a trickster before, I thought, my heart still thrumming. Oh well, a trickster he may be, but he was my investor, And with an investor, my new company was officially off the ground. A new chapter, a new war, but this time with an unexpected ally. With Ace's substantial investment, my new company officially launched with a powerful momentum. I moved into a sleek, larger office in a bustling downtown skyscraper, a tangible symbol of my resurgence. My old team members, those loyal few who hadn't abandoned me during my darkest hour, slowly started returning, drawn by the promise of a fresh start and my unwavering vision. We were all buzzing with energy, working non-stop, fueled by ambition and a collective desire for triumph. I was so busy, truly consumed by the myriad tasks of rebuilding an empire, that I barely had time to answer my phone. My personal life became a distant echo. Until Ace called, a third time. His persistence was both irritating and, I admit, a little endearing. "Hello?" I answered, my voice brisk, still scanning a financial report. Ace's annoyed voice immediately came through, laced with a playful exasperation. "Are you a princess now? Too busy with state affairs to answer your phone?" He always knew how to push my buttons. I paused for 2 deliberate seconds, a slight smile touching my lips despite myself. "You knew I was busy, and yet you dared to disturb me?" "You're hilarious, Stella," he scoffed, but I could hear the amusement in his tone. "Dinner tonight. Give me an update on the company." His voice then dropped, a low, suggestive rumble. "And do you remember what happened last night? You need to take responsibility." My stomach clenched. Last night, the kisses, the raw vulnerability, the sudden intimacy. It was too much, too soon, especially with the news I'd just heard. "Oh, don't worry about it," I interrupted coldly, forcing a detached tone. "Last night never happened. You should just forget it too." My heart ached, even as I said the words. I hung up abruptly, giving him no chance to respond, and immediately blocked his number. I buried myself deeper in work, trying desperately to suppress the confusing emotions swirling within me. I didn't have time for this emotional roller coaster. I had a company to rebuild. But the ache in my chest persisted, a dull throb of conflicting feelings. I tried to convince myself it was just exhaustion, just the stress of my new venture. In a few days, the product launch press conference was set to be the jewel in my comeback crown. I dressed meticulously in a sharp, elegant business suit, paired with 10-centimeter stilettos, feeling every inch the confident CEO. I stood on stage, delivering my speech with conviction and charisma, addressing a sea of reporters and potential partners. And there, in the third row, amidst the eager faces, was Ace Kingston. He wore a dark, impeccably tailored suit, his face grim, his eyes glaring at me with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. "You're the one getting engaged first. I haven't even blamed you. So what are you resenting?" I thought, my anger flaring despite the public setting. I tilted my head, avoiding his piercing gaze, focusing on the eager faces of the press. The press conference ended successfully, a triumph. Next was the evening reception, a more relaxed setting designed for networking and celebration. As I stepped off the stage, feeling a surge of satisfaction, Dean Miller was already waiting, a charming smile on his face. He handed me a glass of crisp white wine, clinking it gently with mine. "Cheers to a successful partnership, Stella," he said, his eyes twinkling. Ace's sharp gaze, however, felt like 1,000 needles pricking my back. My mind was in a whirl, still reeling from the unexpected emotional confrontation with Ace earlier. I just wanted to escape. I exchanged a few polite pleasantries with Dean, intending to make a quick exit. But then Ace strode towards us, his tall figure emanating a chilling aura of possessiveness. His handsome face was dark, a thunderous expression that promised a storm. He didn't say a word, just stared at me, his eyes burning. Instinctively, a desperate act of self-preservation, I pulled Dean closer, grabbing his arm. "Long time no see, Mr. Kingston," I said, my voice dripping with forced sweetness. "Let me introduce you to my boyfriend, Dean Miller." "Boyfriend?" Dean yelped, startled, his eyes wide with confusion. He almost blurted out a protest, but I quickly pinched his arm, a sharp, painful warning. He yelped softly, then gritted his teeth, catching on. Fiancé, actually. Isn't that right, honey?" He quickly corrected, playing along, albeit awkwardly. I forced a brittle smile. "Yes, we're getting married soon." The words felt like ash in my mouth, a desperate lie to create distance. "Fiancé?" he repeated, his voice dangerously low, his eyes dark, an inferno raging within them. He took a slow, deliberate step closer. "So, the other night, were you just playing with me?" His voice was laced with an accusation that cut me to the bone.
Dean, ever the opportunist for drama, immediately jumped in, his eyes bright with eager curiosity. "Wait, the other night, what did you two do?" "It's just a small misunderstanding between Mr. Kingston and me," I insisted, desperate to downplay it, my face burning with embarrassment. "Small misunderstanding," Ace scoffed, his eyes narrowing, his gaze like a laser beam. He took another step, backing me against a pillar. "You practically ate me alive, and then you turn around and announce you're getting engaged to someone else? Stella, what do you take me for? A toy?" I was chagrined, humiliated, and my composure cracked. I started to back away, stumbling slightly, but he trapped me. "You called that a small misunderstanding?" He pulled down his collar, revealing several clear, red marks on his neck and collarbone. "What about these?" he demanded, his voice a low growl. My face burned. "What about them?" I wanted to scream. "You were the one getting engaged first." But before I could articulate my righteous indignation, a horrified shriek echoed from beside us. "Oh my God! Dean," I snapped, turning to him, furious. "What the hell are you screaming about? Are you a woman? I'm supposed to be your boyfriend. Can you at least act like a normal man?" I was so mortified. Dean, caught between two raging forces, finally registered Ace's fury and my embarrassment. "How dare you seduce my girlfriend?" he yelled, trying to sound outraged, but his voice cracked slightly. Before he could say another word, Ace shot him a sharp, knife-like glare that promised swift retribution. "This doesn't concern you. Step aside." Dean, visibly intimidated, awkwardly scratched his head. Guess I got caught, huh? Okay, I'm out." He made a hasty retreat, leaving me alone with an enraged Ace. The moment he was gone, Ace immediately dropped his pretense of calm. He grabbed my wrist with surprising force, pulling me into a secluded stairwell, pinning me against the cold marble wall. The space between us was incredibly dangerous, charged with an undeniable, volatile tension. He leaned in, his face inches from mine, his eyes blazing. "Stella, explain yourself." My nose suddenly stung, tears blurring my vision. I refused to look into his furious eyes, turning my head away, a wave of profound injustice and sadness washing over me. He was the one who was about to get engaged. How dare he interrogate me? "You're getting engaged and you're still asking me for an explanation?" I choked out, my voice trembling. "Engaged?" Ace repeated, his anger momentarily replaced by utter bewilderment. He looked genuinely stunned. Then he used his hands to gently but firmly cut my face, forcing my chin up, compelling my eyes to meet his. In his eyes, I saw a whirlwind of emotions: confusion, anger, pain, and something else: disbelief. He truly seemed unable to comprehend why I had seemingly eaten him alive and then abruptly abandoned him. "The person I like doesn't want me," he said, his voice softer now, laced with a heartbreaking vulnerability. "So who else would I get engaged to?" My heart, which had been a drum of defiance, suddenly skipped a beat, then pounded wildly. "The person he likes is me?" My carefully constructed emotional barriers began to crumble, the carefully suppressed feelings of longing and confusion surging forth. But still, the biggest doubt lingered. "So, what about Sophie?" I demanded, the questions tumbling out raw and unedited. My voice rose, betraying the depth of my confusion and pain. Ace stared at me for a long moment. Then a slow, incredulous smile spread across his face. He threw his head back and laughed, a loud, incredulous laugh that echoed in the stairwell. "Sophie," he said, shaking his head. "Sophie is my cousin. My grandma gave us each a jade pendant when we were kids, a matching set. She is getting engaged, yes, but not to me. She's marrying Mark, her college sweetheart. And my mom probably asked me to give you the invitation because we're close and she wanted me to pass it on." I blinked. Once, twice. The pieces clicked into place, a tidal wave of realization washing over me, followed by an immediate, profound wave of regret and mortification. All that pain, all that anger, all that self-imposed distance for a colossal misunderstanding. I had made a fool of myself. My face burned crimson. "So, this is why you ate me alive and then dumped me?" Ace continued to laugh coldly, his eyes now filled with a triumphant, playful mockery that made me want to curl up and disappear. I was so chagrined, so utterly mortified, that I just buried my face in his chest, groaning in embarrassment. Ace, still chuckling, gently lifted my face. From somewhere, deep within his inner blazer pocket, he pulled out my jade pendant, the one he'd given me in high school. Its translucent green shimmered in the dim light of the stairwell, his eyes clear and sparkling, full of an earnest tenderness I hadn't seen in years, looked at me. "I'm giving you this pendant, Stella, my grandmother's good luck charm, my heart. Do you want it?" My heart hammered uncontrollably, a dizzying rush of emotion. My vision blurred as tears, not of anger, but of overwhelming relief and burgeoning hope welled in my eyes. "Yes," I choked out, the single word loaded with years of unspoken longing. He gently, tenderly placed the pendant around my neck, the cool jade settling against my skin like a promise. Then he leaned down, kissing away the tears at the corners of my eyes, his lips soft and comforting. His voice was hoarse, a raw, heartfelt declaration that melted away all my remaining doubts. "Stella, I like you." "No, Stella, I love you. I've loved you for a very long time." On the way home, in the comfortable silence of his luxury car, a new, joyful lightness filled the air. Ace, however, grew thoughtful, a small frown creasing his brow. "Stella," he began, his voice soft, "why did you think I liked Sophie? She literally just got back to the country. We haven't even appeared together in front of you. Unless—" A sudden spark of realization ignited in his eyes, bright and piercing. "Could it be that you thought I liked Sophie back in high school or college?" Busted. I felt my cheeks flush, the past suddenly laid bare. I sighed, giving in. "Yeah," I confessed, my voice barely audible. "I thought she was your white moonlight, your perfect first love." The term, a popular one for an unattainable ideal, felt foolish now. His eyes deepened, a profound tenderness replacing his usual playful arrogance. "So, did you like me back in college?" he pressed, his voice gentle. My ears burned. "Yeah, I liked you back then," I mumbled, my embarrassment warring with a burgeoning sense of relief. "You're pretty smug about it, aren't you?"
I tried to inject some of my usual bite, but it came out more like a shy whisper. Ace kissed me, a long, deep, tender kiss that erased years of misunderstandings and unspoken feelings. We broke apart, breathless, his eyes gleaming with a profound happiness. Not smug, he said, his voice husky. Lucky. Incredibly lucky. Lucky that the person I'd liked all this time had actually liked me from very early on. Liked for a long time? I pinched his arm playfully. When exactly did you start liking me, Mr. Kingston? His face flushed a deeper red, and he actually looked shy, a rare and endearing sight. Since high school, he admitted, his gaze dropping slightly. I liked you since high school. He then recounted the story. He'd almost confessed to me at graduation, brimming with hope and teenage bravado, but then he'd overheard me telling Chloe, my best friend, all men are jerks. I'll never fall in love in this lifetime. He'd seen my genuine pain, my cynicism, and he'd held back, fearing that if he confessed, he'd lose even my friendship. He was right. Back then, my father's continuous betrayal and sabotage of my mother's company had indeed poisoned my views on love. I despised the idea of it, seeing only deceit and heartbreak. If Ace had confessed then, I probably would have rejected him, hardening my heart even further. It's a good thing you didn't say anything then, I whispered. A tear traced a path down my cheek. I leaned in and gently kissed his lips, a soft, grateful touch. Now is the best. There's no need to regret the past, no need to fear the future, because this moment, right here, right now, is absolutely perfect. After we officially became a couple, Ace was so excited he couldn't sleep all night, buzzing with an infectious energy that kept me awake too. The next day, we both went to work with adorable panda eyes, a secret, shared exhaustion that only we understood. My new company was booming, growing at an exponential rate, thanks in no small part to Ace's strategic insights and, of course, his initial investment. I was back in my element, thriving amidst the organized chaos of building a new empire. But it left me little time for anything else. Ace, ever so dramatic, would playfully complain, "Stella, you don't love me anymore. You're neglecting me for spreadsheets." "Of course I do. I love you the most in the world," I teased back, half-heartedly, my fingers still flying across the keyboard. "Then give me a kiss." He leaned closer, his plump, tempting lips just inches from mine. "No," I'd resist, trying to maintain my professional composure. I'm a cold, unfeeling CEO, focused purely on profit margins. But his playful persistence and the warm brush of his breath against my ear would always break me. I'd sigh in mock exasperation, toss my tablet aside, grab his handsome head, and devour him in a fierce, passionate kiss that silenced all arguments. After, I'd reapply my lipstick, sighing dramatically, "Beauty truly is a curse." He'd chuckle, a deep, satisfied sound. "Then let my beauty curse you all night, honey. Let's leave work early tonight." My face would flush, and I'd playfully kick him out of the car, half annoyed, half thrilled. Ace Kingston, the high-fashion CEO, the ruthless rival, had transformed into a shamelessly adorable pervert in love, and I wouldn't have him any other way. 2 weeks later, the initial frenzy of work eased up. Ace wanted to formally announce our relationship to all our friends, a public declaration of his happiness. I chose the venue, the very hotel, the grandeur, where I'd been reduced to a server, where our strange new chapter had truly begun. It felt like poetic justice. Liam, seeing me, immediately switched to sister-in-law, apologizing profusely for his past taunts and his initial disbelief. I just smiled. After all, I'm the type who never forgets a grudge, but I also know how to forgive. At the celebratory dinner, the conversation, as always, eventually turned to Sullivan Group. My father's company was in free fall, plagued by the scandals I had carefully orchestrated, its stocks plummeting. Sullivan Group is probably done for, Dean laughed, looking at me, a gleam of satisfaction in his eyes. Stella, you must be happy, right? Ace, ever protective, shot him a cold glare. Stella, call her Big Sis. I just smiled faintly, a quiet, deep satisfaction settling in my soul. Quietly buying up Sullivan Group's shares through various shell companies had all been for this very day. Of course I was happy. My mother's legacy was finally avenged. Ace and I decided to marry next March, a spring wedding, symbolizing new beginnings. Before the wedding, I took him to my mother's grave, a place I visited often, seeking solace and strength. He stood solemnly before her headstone, bowing his head, a gesture of profound respect. He quietly promised my mother he would take good care of me for the rest of my life, a promise that resonated deep within my heart. Back home later that evening, he handed me a stack of neatly bound documents. It was a stock transfer agreement. All his assets, his sprawling Fifth Avenue penthouse, his collection of vintage cars, and a staggering 20% of Kingston Group shares were voluntarily transferred to my name. It was a fortune, a testament to his immense wealth. But more than that, it was a profound act of trust. "What is this?" I asked, bewildered, flipping through the pages, my hands trembling slightly. He pulled me into his arms, holding me close, and whispered in my ear, his voice thick with emotion. "I know, because of your parents, you're afraid of marriage. You've seen what betrayal can do. And I know promises, mere words, mean nothing to you. So I transferred everything to your name, my entire fortune, my entire future. I just want you to feel secure, to know that I am yours completely, irrevocably, that you can trust me without a shadow of a doubt." My eyes welled up, blurring his face. I buried my face in his chest, clutching his shirt, the weight of his love almost overwhelming. "You're so silly," I mumbled, tears streaming freely. "Why would you do that? Aren't you afraid I'll take the money and run?" He chuckled softly, tilting my chin up so our eyes met. His eyes, usually so sharp and calculating, were now soft, filled with an unwavering love. "Because I love you, Stella. I love you so much. I want to give you everything. My past, my present, my future. A lifetime is long, filled with uncertainties, but I'm willing to walk that path with you every step of the way." And so, my life took an unexpected, glorious turn. The girl who swore off love, hardened by betrayal, who battled her greatest rival in the boardroom, found her forever in the most unlikely of places, in the most unlikely of men. It wasn't a fairy tale with a Prince Charming on a white horse. It was a gritty, real-life story, forged in the fires of rivalry, healed by unexpected kindness, and built on a foundation of deep, complex affection. We fought, we've cried, we've laughed, and through it all, we found a love that is fierce, unwavering, and utterly ours. The path ahead won't always be easy. Life rarely is. But with Ace by my side, with his shameless perversity and his profound love, I know we can face anything. Because sometimes the greatest love stories are born not from perfect harmony, but from the beautiful, chaotic symphony of two souls who were always meant to challenge, confound, and ultimately complete each other. Our story wasn't neat. It wasn't conventional, but it was perfectly, imperfectly ours. And that, I realized, was better than any fairy tale.